Hey everybody, welcome to Everyone Else Has a Podcast with JD and Scott. So earlier you mentioned Venezuela and Cuba.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of talking about this issue. I want to just recommend a book.
Oh yeah, it's a good book.
You read it?
I read it.
Socialism Sucks.
Yeah, Socialism Sucks.
It's okay.
It's
I forgot we have both read that. So
you told me to.
Yeah, I did. So
And
earlier this year, we read this book called Socialism Sucks. Obviously, we've not discussed it in length. I think we have discussed it some with each other, but it's not a Christian book. It's written by two economists, and the book is a very easy read for anybody to get. You don't have to be an economist to understand what they're talking
really the
about.
Goal economy.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic book. I'm probably gonna make my kids read the book.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter started her senior year in high school this year, and so I'll have to try to figure out when in the world I can get her to read the book before she leaves my house. And then of course my son's going to be a sophomore, and then my youngest, it's going to be over her head, but it's probably not going to be over the head of my two high school kids.
Yeah.
I think my two high school kids are smart enough to probably grasp at least 80% of everything that they're talking about. And then of course I think I'm smart enough to grasp 80% of everything that we're talking about.
Well, yeah, but it could be. There's also documentaries, on Venezuela and on Cuba and places like that where you can see, because these are things that have happened in our lifetime. Well, not in our lifetime, but Venezuela's in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Going from one of the richest countries in South America to a complete disaster. And it's because of a misunderstanding about socialism. It's this idea that socialism is, all of us taking care of each other. That sounds great, but that's not socialism. Socialism is controlling the means of production,
right?
And redistributing wealth, however you want. And usually, what that means is redistributing your wealth into my hands. And so there's a misunderstanding of what socialism is and communism. And so it sounds great to young people. Like, of course I want to share. Everyone wants to share. I was having a conversation with one of the kids upstairs, laughing really loud, because I drive some boys to school back when we used to have school every morning, and to middle school. And I just said, hey, if you made $100 and you didn't need, you could live on less than that, would it be all right if we took 10% of that and gave it to Ben? And he's like, yeah, okay. I'm speeding up the story, and I said, okay, well, what if Ben didn't work? Would that be okay? And he's like, yeah, I don't need all that money. Ben can have it. I said, okay, what if we took 50% of your money and I gave it to Ben so that you and Ben can have the same amount, even though you worked the whole time and he didn't? And he's like, and you could tell he wanted to be nice. That's the thing. We want to be nice. Kids are being taught we should share. We should be nice. He's like, yeah. And I was like, is it really fair that you worked that hard and you have to give half your money to someone who didn't work? And he's like, no. He didn't want to say it. He didn't want to admit, no, that's not. And I was like, what if you could live on even less? What if you, out of your $100, you lived on $30, and then Ben got 40 and or each of them got $35, and I spread it out to two boys.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no. And I was like, why not? And he's like, because that's my money. And I was like,
mm-hmm.
Yes,
right.
That's exactly right. And it sounds nice, and we have to fight that urge to say it sounds nice. But when you're dealing with selfish people and depraved people, which is what our human condition is, you're never going to get a utopia out of that. The only way to work out taking care of people is if you choose to do that. And so that's why I'm a believer in capitalism and in personal giving, because
right.
I want to support people who need something, but I don't want to be forced to support someone who didn't do something. And everyone knows what this is like. We all did the group homework, right, in high school, where you had like 3 or 4 people in the group and write a paper, and then the one person did it and the other 3 didn't. That wasn't fair to that one person, and they hated it, and that one person's probably a capitalist now. But the other 3 like socialism. They should all get the same grade, right? They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But that's not. But anyway, so documentaries and books, I think that's important, because there's such this false narrative out there that just taking care of people is socialism. No, it's not. It's not socialism.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's one of those things that in the latter part of that book, they talk about how some of these politicians, let's say, for instance, Bernie and AOC, they throw some of these social justice issues in with their platform and call it all socialism. But the problem is that it's they're muddying the waters, and they're confusing people, or not confusing, maybe deceiving people into thinking, well, that taking care of everybody is just called socialism. But it's really not what it is.
Right.
And Venezuela is a very good example of a broken economic system of socialism, and Cuba as well. And then people say, well, we don't want to look at Venezuela anymore, even though just a few years ago, some of our big Hollywood people are the biggest champions of that nation. But now that it's broken, we're oh, well, maybe not so much. Now let's look at Sweden. But the problem is that Sweden has a lot of social programs, but they're really not a socialist nation.
Yeah, they're capitalist.
And so, and again, so people just need to do their homework.
Well, they think that things that where you have like social welfare or something, welfare, they think that's socialist. It's not socialist in the same way that your auto insurance isn't socialist. No one would think my auto insurance is socialist, right? We have to pay in a certain amount, and we pay in along with 100,000 other people. And when someone has an accident, all of our money is given to the person that crashed, and their car gets fixed. That's the deal we make with Social Security. That's the deal we make with Medicare. Everyone would agree that that's capitalist, right? Because the big insurance companies just out to make money. Of course they are. And we're out to make sure that if we pay a small amount every month, along with a million other people, if we crash our car...
Protects our interests.
Right.
Yeah.
It protects our interests. That's not socialism, though. And that's the same thing that comes up all the time with the social welfare kind of thing. We say social, but it's not socialist. It's still a capitalist welfare program. And that's what happens in Sweden and Denmark and all these places, is that they have a social contract where all of the people agreed, at least a majority agreed, to chip in to take care of XYZ. And if that's how it works in the United States and we all end up agreeing, which is why I think it should be a vote, and it should probably be a vote based on states, because some states will want it more than others. But could we have a statewide insurance? Absolutely. Would it be socialist? No, it wouldn't, because we'd all be paying into it with an agreement that I'm getting something in return for it. So I'm paying in my premiums right now. I'm paying in my premiums. And if one of us gets sick, we get to go to the doctor. It's not free. It's not socialist. It's capitalist. And the misunderstanding on what capitalist and what socialist is leads people to think, well, I want socialism.
Right.
Who doesn't want healthcare? Everybody wants healthcare. Who doesn't want free education? Well, first of all, we already have free education. You got the internet, right? We have YouTube. We have the internet. We have such great places to learn and to study. And as someone who has a lot of college degrees, I can tell you that I learned more on the internet going and self-learning, self-taught, than I did by going through classes upon classes upon classes of the same topic until I got a degree.
Right.
So we don't need free college. We need people who are interested in a certain topic to go study it, and it's probably free out there already.
Right. You just don't get the little piece of paper to hang on the wall with the gold foil on it. So,
yeah, that's true. Anyway. Which has helped me a lot. Ask me how much money I've made more because of my college degrees.
How much money have you made more?
None.
Okay.
When I got hired in at my current job and every other previous job, I made exactly the same amount of money as the people who did not have a college degree. And every college degree did not give me a raise. So while it's interesting to have it, it doesn't actually, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, I don't think you need a college degree.
And were your college degrees in like African women's studies?
They weren't.
Okay, so what were they in?
I have a master's of business administration. I did not start earning $100,000 within 5 years, as they promised. I have a master's of adult education, and I have a human resources master management degree, and then I have a religion degree. None of those degrees got me a new job. Not that I was trying to get a new job. I'm happy with my jobs, but
and not to say that they didn't prepare you.
Some of them were cool,
and helpful, but they didn't increase your wage.
Right, and it was 3 years of the same topic.
Right.
Whereas I probably learned what I needed in the first 6 months, and that was it. In which case I could have just gotten a certificate, or I could have gone online to a class or something, or I could have gone to YouTube
Yeah.
or something like that. Not necessarily just YouTube, but any of these sites, you know, and I could have probably got the same thing. Excuse me, my phone is vibrating and making noises. All that to say, it's not socialist. Yeah,
Right.
Socialist is taking my money by force and then choosing, you know, what to spend it on, and control and authoritarianism, which is why it's so ironic that we see people who are calling Trump an authoritarian by being socialist. And I'm like, you know, pot kettle. It's true, right?
Speaking of all this education stuff, though, last night I walked into my wife's salon, and she wasn't working, but she was getting her own hair done by my daughter.
Nice.
My oldest daughter was coloring her hair, and when I walked in, she was rinsing it out in the sink. And I just looked at my daughter and I just said, Joanna, you know, you don't have to go to some fancy college for 4 years in order to do this if this is what you want to do after you graduate.
Right.
And she says, well, this is not what I want to do, which was the first time I'd heard that, because that's been part of the conversation probably over the last 3 or 4 years of, what do you want to do with your life, you know? And let's make sure that we don't waste dollars on education when that's not going to turn into career dollars, you know? And so, you know, you can go to cosmetology school and spend X amount of dollars, which is far less than having to go to, you know, for a 4-year university and then go to cosmetology school. But she, you know, and she goes, well, Dad, this isn't what I want to do specifically. She might still want to do something in that field that she might have to go get some other special schooling in. But, and again, I'm not against going to school and get educated and you know, taking courses. And if you need to get a degree, get a degree. Obviously, I don't want the doctor who's going to be getting ready to do an operation on me to not have gone through all the things that are required for him to go through.
I watched a video. I'm pretty sure I could do it.
Yeah, right. I saw it on YouTube. So, but one of the things that I remember hearing or reading in a course that Dave Ramsey put together for teenagers, he put a great financial course together for teenagers. When I say Dave Ramsey, I mean Dave Ramsey's people.
Yeah, well, that's right. Once you get to a certain point,
Ramsey Solutions,
everyone's people does stuff for you.
Ramsey Solutions, the corporation. They put this great 3-part series, and I think it's, when I say 3-part, I think it's even 4 weeks per part. So it's made to like be taught as a curriculum. And they said that the average college graduate, and this information is just recent, so within the last just few years, so this is not super outdated information, but the average college graduate makes like $33,000 a year. That's not very much money. No, for someone that now has $100,000 bill.
It's pretty accurate. Yeah, it is a lie. I'll talk to you young people that aren't watching this. It is a lie that you have to go to college. And I know that's just what people say you have to do, but I'll tell you, I don't know very many people other than lawyers or doctors who went to college and ended up using the degree that they got from college for their career. Most of us happen upon our career, you know.
And there's even tons and tons of lawyers who are not actually walking or not actually working in the as a lawyer.
That's right. And so you have to, if you don't know what you want to do, then don't spend $100,000 doing it. Right. And so if you don't know that you want to be a doctor, and by the way, many people end up changing their degree when they find out what that actually means, the thing that they thought they wanted to do. And so you end up having this incredible amount of money that you're spending, and there's no good reason for it. When I was a new hire manager and I got to hire people and train them when they were brand new, I used to have them when we were first like, hey, I'm Scott. Who are you? Tell me about yourself. And I'd ask them, you know, tell me who you are, where you come from, you know, did you get a degree or something? And, you know, what were you trained in? And that was always fun for me because there'd always be like 2 or 3 history majors. And there'd always be some English majors. And then you get some crazy ones, concrete management, turf management, which I guess is a very specialized degree for working on golf courses. Yep. And I was like, why did you get that? I thought it would be fun to do it, but yet here you are with me.
Working in mass communications.
Yeah, working in technology and communications, customer service. And so I'm just like, so how much of that, I didn't want to ask. I was like, did your turf management degree cost you $100,000? And how much do you still owe on your turf management degree? And I was like, I don't want to say, but I didn't ask him that question. But, it was always fun to see how many people got those degrees. And you just think to yourself, this is kind of a different topic, but if a college is pumping out, let's say 30 history degrees a year, every graduating class, 30 history degrees, let's just say that. And there's only 15 people that work at that college that are history teachers. Where are these people going to get their jobs?
Right.
There's not like going to be another new college built every single year for every single college so that you can have 15 more of this job. Maybe some will retire, maybe some will move on. But the fact of the matter is that you're overproducing what you're spending. And that happens with all kinds of regular degrees. If you feel like you have to go and get a generic degree, then just get a business degree. I mean, it's going to be the most helpful for you. At least you'll understand how things work. But
yeah.
It would help us to understand how colleges work. The reason why college costs so much, this is a different topic, but I'm passionate about this since I'm still paying my student loans. I know I will be forever. But the reason why colleges can charge whatever they want, and the reason why the cost goes up every year, is because they know that they can charge whatever they want and the government's going to cover the bill. If you know that, if, for instance, I'm selling this cup of iced tea, and to a thirsty person, and they have 50 cents, the most I can get is 50 cents. But if that thirsty person has, I'm like, you want my iced tea? How much money you got? He opens it up and he's got $1,000 in there. Depends on how thirsty he is. He might give me $1,000, right? Well, every college student has basically $15,000 or $20,000 a year just from the government in guaranteed money. So every college would be foolish to actually only charge what it costs to teach those kids. They would charge as much as they can, which is how everybody works. Every business works that way. You charge as much as you can.
You mean to tell me that education is actually a business?
Oh, yeah, they can say it's a nonprofit, but
and
give
that
me
medicine is actually a business?
Yeah, they're all businesses.
Yeah.
And it's okay because those businesses, again, their selfishness is providing a product to us. Where it gets out of whack is when the government comes in and artificially creates purchasers and artificially gives us money to spend on that. If everyone got gift cards to Best Buy from the government every month, we'd all go buy movies, and movies would cost more at Best Buy.
Exactly.
Especially if Best Buy was the only place that sold movies, and that's what we run into. Colleges are the only place that sell degrees, right? Like Harvard still going to charge $50,000 a year to go there, even though it's online. And so you can tell right away that this isn't about the in classroom experience of living on campus. This is about the cost of the piece of paper. The cost of the piece of paper at Harvard's $200,000. You're buying that degree. So you have all these students that wouldn't be able to afford that otherwise, and so the government gives them money. If everyone had to qualify on loans for colleges or pay for it out of their own pockets, then colleges would cost less, because there would be less demand for colleges and there'd be less money to spend on colleges. And so if anyone's mad about the cost of colleges, be mad at your government for giving them a blank check.
My daughter is looking at a school right now who they refuse to do any kind of loans with
That's awesome.
the government.
Yeah, I love that. And I know some other ones too. There was one in North Carolina that Ariel liked for a little while, where you worked it out so that you worked it off while you were going there.
There's another one, College of the Ozarks does that as well. That's kind of on our radar
so
too.
You graduate with 0 loans.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful for the reason why we talked about it. And you talked about history degrees. One of the biggest things that I'm offended by, since I'm a Christian, I get to say this, I'm offended by Christian colleges saddling pastors and missionaries with $60,000 in student loan debt. Where are they supposed to pay that off from? That is just so crap. And that's a new phrase, so crap. I'm going to get a shirt made out of it.
But you're going to get a shirt made out of crap?
So crap. It's going to say so crap on there. A Christian organization training up people who feel like they're called to share the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we're going to give them $60,000 in credit card debt that they'll never be able to pay off. because when they go to be pastors, first-time pastors, they're going to make $20,000 a year if they're lucky and they actually get a job. And then most of those pastors burn out and they're gone in 3 to 5 years anyways. And now they're back to the regular day jobs of working wherever they are with a religion degree like I have, and just getting a job at whatever we can get a job at. And I just think that's so ridiculous. If we really believe in the cause of Christ and being and raising up pastors and so on, and those colleges are really run by Christians, my opinion is those colleges need to subsidize those degrees to make them free. That's my opinion. I mean, the Bible says don't be a debtor. We all kind of ignore that in American society because we're all debtors. But
well, I don't mind that there's some skin in the game, but I do understand your point. To subsidize, or to at least offer it for cost, or offer it for in such a way that it allows the university or that educational institution to grow their influence. I understand that, but for it to be exorbitant amounts, I totally see your point.
They could charge every other student there an extra $100 a semester and then pay for the, you know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be astronomical.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm such a big fan of the Bible Project. They're doing their own classes online, you know, and now they're going to start to post them. And as far as I know, it'll all be free. And that's how the Bible Project rolls, and I love them. And you can go and take actual seminary kind of level degrees, and you can take a short version that's only a few hours. You can take the whole class that's going to take like 50 hours or something, and actually go through and learn about the Bible, because the learning about the Bible thing should be free. That's what we Reformed / Protestants found out, you know, 400 years ago.
Yeah.
Shouldn't cost money. There shouldn't be a gateway to get to
not the knowledge of God.
Right.
Yeah.
It should be available.
That's good.
Anyways.
So let's talk about something more lighthearted in these last few moments.
You don't want me to talk about the thing that I'm still mad about 20 years later? College. I freaking hate you, college. Hate you.
I had a good college experience.
It was I had a good experience. It was when I got the bill that I all of a sudden was like, wait a second. Sure. I mean, that's where I met my oldest friends, and you know, and I got married to my wife there, but I'm like, can I give you back the piece of paper? Can I return this? Am I past the return window for this? Because I would totally give it back. Anyways. All right, something lighthearted. What are we talking about? John MacArthur. That's lighthearted.
We can.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, look, just real briefly, I was going to say, I think it's interesting. John MacArthur felt so strongly to open up his church. And my thought was...
just real quickly, give our friends who don't know who John MacArthur is, give them a snapshot of who he is, what the situation is, where he is, and what he did.
Well, he's in California. He's got a mega church. About 8,000 people a week go there normally. Each service is 3,000 people. And I think he has 3 services, 2 morning and then 1 evening is the way I understand it. He decided that after this new lockdown by Governor Newsom in California that he was not going to do that. Basically that the government doesn't get to tell the church when it can meet, when it can't, when it can preach, when it can't, and when it can sing, when it can't, and so on. It's up to God. I get what he's saying, but I was just going to make a joke and say that because John MacArthur is, pretty anti-Pentecostal.
Right, yeah.
He wrote a book called Strange Fire, which is a story of Aaron's kids dying when they did the altar, when they burned some incense wrong. And he made the equivalent. That's speaking in tongues and being filled with Spirit. And
which is a really long stretch for me. But
right.
There's a lot of things about Mr. MacArthur that he and I can probably agree on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's got a lot going for. I mean, he's a smart guy.
He is.
He just has a significant difference that he's decided to go way divisive on. I mean, it's one thing for many people to say, I think the gifts have ceased. Okay. Can we still be buds? Yeah, man, let's be buds. I think the gifts are, have ceased and you're filled with the devil is a whole different level of divisiveness there, which, he doesn't back down. But I was going to say, just as a joke, I wonder if the Holy Spirit told him to stay open. And I didn't know, that was the whole thing. It seemed like it's not a funny joke now that I had to go that far into the story.
Irony.
Yeah. Did you hear from the Holy Spirit on that one, John? Or Pastor MacArthur? Or did you... I did.
Yeah.
No, anyways, I watched his sermon. I was watching his sermon on the live stream just to see, and he does talk. He get a standing ovation at the beginning of it. Of course he did. And anyways, what I was struck by was like the music. He's got this big pulpit.
Yes.
And this guy that comes up there, he looks like he's in the opera or something, and he's just singing these songs out, and I'm just like, this is exactly what I expected your church to look like. I'd heard him on the radio, 1,000 times, but I'd never actually seen one of the services, and I'm like, this is it. This is what I expected it to look like. Anyways, that's the whole story of John MacArthur.
Yeah, and he made some very biblical arguments for staying open. Yeah. And for resisting the decrees to stay open. He made a good argument for it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's got a good argument. I don't think that's really where I differ with him on that topic.
No. Yeah.
You know, there's always a question of when and where are you going to put your foot down. But I didn't have any concerns with him. And usually he, if he stays away from charismatic stuff, he's pretty good.
I agree.
I've been playing video games the last couple of days.
Yeah?
Yeah. What's the name of the game? I don't know. There's a zombie outbreak, and it's like an open world game. And
I got on the App Store last night to just kind of peruse, which I very rarely peruse the App Store. Mm-hmm. And I just was saying, okay, what games are out there right now that are popular? And so I went to that little section. And the pandemic game, or what is it called?
Oh, yeah.
You have it.
Oh, yeah. I love that game.
Outbreak, virus,
that's
kind
the
of
one
thing.
That scared you. Bad.
You showed it to me months and months ago, and I played through it one time. I think that was all the way back in February that we did that you showed that to me.
Yeah.
Right when we were just starting to hear about coronavirus, like coming to the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest.
That one, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's one of the most popular games right now.
Of course it is.
It's like number 6 or something like that. Don't quote me, but it's up there. But I didn't download it. Didn't download any games. I just was curious to see what was going on.
That's a game that you try to create a plague and see if you can. And this isn't. Think of it as educational, okay? You can create a plague and you can modify its DNA. You can modify the different ways that it spreads and so on. You can even pick where you start it and so on. And over the course of the game, your goal is to infect and then ultimately kill everyone on Earth, which is very difficult to do, which is good news, which is why I'm also very hopeful, right? If the video game said it's hopeful, then I'm hopeful. But it gives you a very realistic view of how things spread and how viruses, I mean, it's obviously a game, but just as kind of like a viewpoint of it, like they've got hot spot outbreaks, and then it shows like airplanes traveling from one place to another, and that one had a person that was sick, so it's red, and then now you've got it over there, and it's I mean, I honestly, I feel like that game probably primed me a little bit for COVID, because I was like, this is the same as the game, but that's just because we live in a simulation, and the overlords know that. And they're like, we're screwing with you now.
The disturbing part is, as I was playing that game on your phone that many months ago, I remember, this is intriguing. This is fun. I'm having a good time trying to kill the world.
Well, and you're fighting against them, because after a minute, if it's too lethal too early, everyone starts trying to find a cure for it too fast.
Right.
And so there's this like balancing act, which again, it shows you that the balancing act for something to become a worldwide pandemic where it kills millions of people, it's very difficult for a virus to do that. We talk about it like it's easy because it spreads, but that doesn't mean anything. Cold spreads all over the place very easy, and we don't die from it. And so it is a reason to be hopeful about the fact that humans are pretty resilient, and this virus wasn't sent by God, so it's not going to get us, unlike the North Korean one that's coming in a couple of years.
Oh, man.
Chinese one. Oh, speaking of Chinese, did you see the Three Gorges Dam is bending?
No.
Do you know what that is?
No.
That's this monstrously big dam in China. Huge dam. It wasn't even supposed to be able to be dammed, but they did it. Anyways, it's huge. And the new pictures of it, because it's been flooding and raining like crazy in China, the new pictures show it warping. And they're like, it's just warping. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal, because if that dam breaks, there's like millions and millions of people along that flood basin.
Yeah.
And if it was to break, I was reading this really long exposition on what would happen. to the world economy, because all of those areas that are along the flood basin are the places where like the major hubs of transportation are, where all of the big manufacturing places are, and millions upon millions of humans. And so if it was to break, it would kill millions of people and completely shut down like 25% of the world's economy, like immediately, some crazy thing like that. So
wow.
Other than praying for what's happening with Pastor, what's the pastor's name?
Barnabas.
Yes, Pastor Barnabas. That's right. Other than praying for Pastor Barnabas, we probably need to pray for the Chinese people too, because the pictures of that dam are scary.
Yeah.
Like it's so long, and you can see it buckling, and I'm like, concrete and steel aren't supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary. Anyways, so is that a light topic?
That was so lighthearted. I
to
feel
finish this on,
uplifted. I need to take a nap after this.
I tell you about the movies that we went to, but the theaters aren't open.
I know,
and most movies aren't being released.
Okay, so I'll say this. So last week, it was the last week all of our family were together before school started. My son hasn't gone back to school. He doesn't start back till like 2 more weeks.
Yeah, same for us.
So we decided we're going to squeeze the very last bit of summer out of this that we can. So we planned all this stuff, and we did about half of it, you know. It was a pretty, like, I don't remember if you remember seeing this book as a kid, like, tomorrow I'm going to, and it had this kid doing all these things.
No, God.
Anyway, the book is probably like made in the 60s, and I just was laying around.
I wasn't a kid in the 60s.
I wasn't either, but my parents had it laying around, and I just remember it. It was this kid. I had all these like dreams of doing this big thing. Well, this Saturday I'm going to eat a stack of pancakes this big, and this
sounds good.
So anyway, we had all these plans. We didn't accomplish all of them, but we did do some things. One of the things we did is we were going to go to the Premiere 6 here in town.
That's right.
Because that movie theater is open. They're showing old movies.
It was open.
Now
it's closed.
Well, it should be open again now. But we
went.
We showed up. We were going to watch Ghostbusters, 1984.
The first one.
The first one. And they were shut down. I'm like, well, what in the world? This place has been open. And it said, hey, we're closed until, Friday. Please check our social media page. So I went on social media, found out they had to shut down. They had an employee that had COVID, so they had to shut down for a thorough cleaning, making sure all that was good and everything. Okay, whatever. That's a bummer. So we didn't go do that. We went home and watched it. We just rented it on Amazon or something. But then a couple days later, we went to the drive-in. Did I tell you this?
Mm-mm.
We drove out to we wanted to go to Woodbury, but they're only open on the weekends. So this is on a Thursday. We drove all the way out to Watertown, middle of nowhere, and we saw a double feature, Shrek and Kung Fu Panda. And of course, our family has seen those movies 1,000 times a piece, but it was still good just to go and get out and do that and have a good time. So I don't really have any. I will say this. It was the first time my kids have probably watched Shrek in a long time. And even then, my son made mention of it's the first time he'd seen it on a large screen. Because it's like one of those movies that's been sitting in our van for probably about 5 years.
Yeah.
And anytime we're on a long road trip, it's like, well, see what DVDs are in the console. Oh, Shrek, put that in. Napoleon Dynamite, put that in. School of Rock, put that in. All these movies stay in our car. And they
all
never
those young children movies.
Yeah.
School of Rock and Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah,
Jocelyn, where are your tater tots right now?
Yeah. Lay off my tots.
I've got them right here, Dad.
So, but my son was talking about all the things that he missed as a kid. So he's 15 now, and I heard this conversation between him and my 17-year-old, and they were talking about, oh my gosh, when we were kids, this thing went way over our head, and this thing went over our head, and in the dialogue, but also visually, there were things that were happening visually in the movie that they just didn't pick up or catch up on
because it was too small?
Well, because for 2 reasons. Number one, they didn't know to look for it. It didn't mean anything to them. But then also the second thing is they're watching it like on a 7-inch monitor in the back of a minivan, But so that was kind of fun. We had a good time doing that, and I'm like, man, we should do that more often as long as my weather and my schedule permits. My biggest problem is forcing myself to take time to do those things and plan them out,
Because you don't like your kids.
No, I do like my kids, but I love my kids, but I need to be more intentional, or I want to be more intentional about making those kinds of memories with my kids. Not just, I mean, I play NBA 2K with my son Noble often. Mm-hmm. Not every day, but and sometimes we'll play a couple times a week, and sometimes it'll be a couple weeks before we play again. But we play often enough that he's going to have that memory of me playing with him. Mm-hmm. But I don't want it just for him to have memories of Dad played video games with me. I want there to be more memories than that, and I know that they will. But I want to be more intentional, especially now that I've got a 17-year-old going to be 18 later this year, graduating high school, and I'm just like, I want this last year that we have for her, and she might stay in our house longer. I don't know, probably not, but I want this last year to be just, let's make some memories, and we're gonna already got one big thing on the calendar. We got a big rock at the end of this year on the calendar that's going to be good, but I don't just want it to just be one big thing. I'd like there to be that one big thing and maybe some medium things and then a bunch of little things.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, that is not something I can live up to, what you just said, so...
Why?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You're like, I just want to be the best dad ever.
You can be the best dad ever too, Scott. We can both be.
We can both be the best dad ever. Yeah, no, I do know how you feel. I feel like that what we end up getting caught up in all the time is the day-to-day, did you pick this up? Did you do this wrong? Did you do are you fighting with this? And they want to go hang out with their friends. I was thinking about it when you were talking about NBA 2K. With my older girls, with my girls who are older, we played games more often together, but the boys play games with each other or their friends because it's all online now. Mm-hmm. And so they go and they play. So I seldom play games with them, which is kind of a shame, But I agree with the memories are the ones where we went to the zoo in St. Louis, or we went to we went to Dallas before you weren't allowed to anymore, back when hockey existed, and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are the memories that they'll have. And they're good memories, and I can tell you, as someone who doesn't have those memories with his dad, I would like to, and so I guess I should probably work on that a little bit more. I think it's great what you're doing with your daughter. I think one of the problems with Maggie being at home is because she's on school, she does school homeschool now, so we see her all the time, so it becomes easy to forget. Yeah. If you see someone every day, not if you see your wife every day, it's easy to forget she's your wife. That's not what I mean. But when you see your kid every day and there's not really a break, it becomes the same and the same and the same and the same. And then it's, did you pick up your room and did you do this? And you start to lose track of time and the events and making things special.
It's really easy. I remember, and you might be able to identify with me in one way or another, like being away at college. And then you come home from college, you don't just come home and sit around. You almost like you come home and you have plans to maximize all of your time for the most part, and say, when I come home from college, I want to do this, this, and this. And it doesn't mean you won't do more things, but those are things that are you're very intentional about doing because you have a window of time and you want to make sure those things get done because you enjoy them, or there's specific people that you want to be around. And when you see each other every day, it's really easy to take it for granted. You actually have more opportunity,
right?
But you are less intentional and less aware, and so you don't take all those opportunities. And that's where you just have to fight the culture of busy. And I feel like I'm seeing a little momentum in that in some of our circles. There's some of our brothers and sisters at church who I know there's this book going around. I haven't read it yet, so I can't recommend it. And sometimes when I say I recommend a book, like when we recommended Socialism Sucks earlier, you have to know that it's not a Christian book. Okay, so if you are watching this podcast and you're looking at me as a Christian pastor recommending a book, you just need to know, first of all, like, I'm not recommending that you read this book for spiritual guidance. Okay, Socialism Sucks is not a book for spiritual
it's
guidance.
Two economists drinking beers
around the world,
and
talking about and rating the countries that they're in on a different scale. Okay, so same thing for this. Brothers and sisters, they're reading this book called The Enemy of Busy or something like that. I can't exactly remember the exact title of that.
Okay.
So it is encouraging to me to know that people are becoming aware that they have to fight busy, because and it's not so we don't want to fight busy so that we can just lay around and do nothing. You fight busy so that you can actually be more intentional. And again, this is my thoughts and ideas, not the author, because I haven't even read the book. Mm-hmm. But I want to fight busy so that I actually can do the things that I truly want to do, and not so that those things just keep getting put on the back burner.
I would say even the opposite is true, because I think you have to fight not busy as well, because over the last 3 months where the kids have been home every day, I mean, what have they been doing? Laying around, playing video games.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there is busy. There's some of us who are very busy, and then there are some of us who are like, I don't have anything to do right now. Maybe we're off work. My wife's been off work. My daughters were laid off with COVID. There wasn't anything to do. So it's just, I think, about being mindful and purposeful about what you do with your time, which I'm really great at recognizing that and then not doing anything about it. And so I think probably some people listening can relate to that. But yeah, I guess it's a good message to be more purposeful with the time that we have, because I do know what you're talking about. When I go back to California to see the family, I'm really just going back there for Del Taco and for In-N-Out. And then I also see the family. So I get what you're saying. I'm like, we have to go there.
Yeah.
2 or 3 times in and out. It has to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Everyone Else Has a Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Maybe someday you'll have a podcast too.